When it comes to the metaphysical world, there are so many things we can talk about. Today, I want to tell you another story about nature spirits. A few years back, there was a young man who needed to pass his thesis. He had worked so hard for so many years, and it felt like there was nothing to show for the work he had done. The politics in the university department he was dealing with were just not what we would expect them to be. So, being a descendant of different and more spiritual-minded races, he decided to tap a little bit into the traditions of his ancestors. He asked me if I would accompany him to perform a ceremony to help him finally close a cycle in his life and get his doctorate. I agreed, of course, as I wanted to help as well. At first, I asked on his behalf what his ancestors wanted and how we should perform the ceremony. His ancestors replied by telling us to go into nature, preferably by the water, and to bring food offerings for them and the nature spirits. They told us that honey was great for the water spirits, oats for the earth elemental beings, flowers and a candle for the other spirits. They also asked us to prepare and bring a prayer made from the heart and ask for what he wanted in the prayer. The day we met for the ceremony was a beautiful morning. As we walked to the area where we were planning the ceremony, he asked me if I thought the spirits actually ate the food people offered them. All I could say was that I didn't know, that maybe it was more of a gesture than anything else. When we got to the spot, he set up everything as planned, but he had also brought chips as an addition to the offerings, which I thought was interesting. My job was just to hold space, but as I did so, I got curious and decided to take a look at what was happening in the energetic aspect of our world. And there it was. The spirit of the river presented itself. The moment he started his prayer and placed the flowers on the water. The spirit of the river had a very feminine energy. It was massive in size, and the frequency it showed could be best represented in pastel pink and pastel yellow colors. It looked like a beam of these two colored lights reaching out from the water to the heavens. As he placed the honey in the water, it looked as if millions of tiny fish had just been called to that spot. I could feel the excitement of these unseen little beings gathering for a bed of honey. They made me smile as their energy was just so happy. I saw his ancestors gathering about 12 feet away from where we were. They looked more like silhouettes standing by the trees, watching and listening. There was so much happening with just a prayer and some offerings. And just when I thought it was time to wrap it all up, I heard in my right ear the sound of someone eating chips. It was so loud, it could have been considered rude. It definitely caught my attention. So I turned around to look, and there it was, some type of forest spirit. He looked to be around my height and was unlike anything I've ever seen before. He was showing me that they too eat the offerings humans leave them. They eat it not in the way we think they do, but they absorb the energy and the essence of the food. That was such a neat experience. I don't think I'll ever forget the lesson I learned that day, which was that sometimes all traditions come from real things. These traditions have meaning and connection to things that have been forgotten but are still part of our world. And now you're probably asking, did the young man close that cycle in his life, and did he get his doctorate? The answer is yes, he did. I last heard from him just a few years back and saw that his ancestors are still with him, cheering him on as he opens and closes the cycles his life brings him.